Thank you. I have to say, to be able to speak for such an immense crowd of exquisite curators and experts, it's terrifying. On the other hand, when I was asked to do here a statement, my ego kicked in, so here we are. Well, 30 years after the invention of photography, Théophile Thoré already noticed in the introduction of the catalogue of Musée d'Anvers the importance of photography for the study of art history. And he, in fact, wanted to use photography to create what he calls une galerie universelle de chefs-d'œuvre de la peinture. Well, this proves to be visionary. Now, if we talk about the reproduction of artworks, we of course think, and the first thing that pops up to mind is Walter Benjamin. That's, I think, rather clear. Now, in his research of mass reproduction, mass media reproducing artworks, he quite clearly states that art is manipulated. The meaning of artworks are manipulated by mass media in reproducing them. It's not an innocent thing to do, but for him, the original still exists. The original has an aura that came from its cultural, its religious use, and that aura gave the artwork a kind of uniqueness. And that's a very comforting thought for us curators, because we can position ourselves as these kind of guardians of these unique artworks. A museum based on the idea of the originality of an artwork, or even on the dogma of authenticity. Well, I have this feeling that this idea of originality is coming under a lot of pressure the latest years. Now, I'm not going into all the reasons why I think, because I only have 10 minutes. But originality is not that evident anymore as it was in previous days. Now, if we return to Thoré and his gallery, why did he wanted to do that? Is because he knew that it was physically impossible in the 19th century to see, for instance, the entire work of Rembrandt. It was simply impossible to do that. So that's why he wanted to use photography. And there we see also the dawn, or the first ideas of that other beautiful essay written in the 20th century about museums, Le Musée Imaginaire de Malraux. And that is also a very interesting thing that might give us another point of view. What he says is that museums themselves rob artworks of their original function. An artwork in a museum doesn't do anymore what it's supposed to do. It becomes a pure image. But on the other hand, by becoming pure images, a museum becomes one of the best things that man can produce, because within a museum, through the art of curating, curators, can recreate reality, can recreate the creation, or like he says it, une récréation de l'univers en face de la création. He gives the curator a kind of divine power. Now, that's a nice thing to hear, I guess. So, if we see Benjamin still have originals. Malraux, he has pure imagery. If we see Benjamin, he has mass media, and more especially film, that alters the meaning of an artwork. For Malraux, it's the museum itself already that changes the meaning of an artwork. He calls that a transformation. Now, the link with today, the idea of Malraux, the link with today is quite obvious. Even a superficial reading of Malraux reminds of the internet. Now, the important thing is not having all the pictures on your Google search, but the important thing for Malraux is the art of curating, is the art of putting things together and therefore creating new meaning through pure imagery. And that is what the internet provides today for everyone. Everyone today can be a curator, yet nobody really has learned to wield this creative, almost divine power of curating pure imagery and therefore recreating the reality. And that, for me personally, I believe that might be a very good starting point for us curators to share our knowledge to a larger audience and therefore become social relevant again. Because for me, honestly, a curator is an educator. nothing more, nothing less, an educator. And although we live in this golden age of museums, there were never more museums than today, there were never more visitors than today. Most of the museums now are used in this kind of prosaic way as things for tourism and city marketing. I don't think I'm the only one who has sometimes the feeling that museums belong to the entertainment industry rather than the educational industry. Yet I firmly believe that we have this educational mission we should apply to. Now, I give an example. Museum M, 5 years ago, we started to work on visual literacy. We started to work on exploring visual skills for our visitors. And it was a holistic program. It was a bit the same like the Stedel this morning, but then for visual literacy. So I was very thrilled to hear what the Stedel actually achieved. It has to be an inspirational source for everyone. Anyway, to give a practical example, we followed 20 students of a high school for 3 years, learning them how to be visual literate. Just in the normal curriculum. So we didn't do anything extraordinary, just learned them how to deal with the visual. And then at the end, you have these nationwide examinations in Belgium. Those students we followed with their visual skills, to improve their visual skills, they bettered their expected results for those examinations by 10%. They bettered the national result as a whole. They improved not only their art skills, but every skill they were. They improved their science skills, they improved their math skills. Every skill there was, they improved through that visual literacy program. And that is, for me, something I'm very proud of. Even more proud of than the exhibitions and the books, I'm most proud of this result, because that shows that the museum today can still make a huge, huge social difference. So, for me, a curator is somebody who learns people how to understand how images work, who learns people how to read and write imagery, who make people aware of the fact that we live in a visual society and how to take part in that. And maybe most importantly, to emancipate people from the rhetoric of imagery. Now, the advice of John Berger in his magnificent television show, Ways of Seeing, a lot more is possible if only art is stripped of its false mystery and the false religiosity which surrounds it. I personally believe if we would evolve from art museums to visual museums, a lot more can be possible. Thank you.